I'm here today to share some memories of my dad, who passed away in 1999, actually, so it's been 18 years. I must say that it does get a little easier with time. He lived a good life. We had 28 days to say our goodbyes to him and let him know how much we loved him. Unfortunately, I wasn't beside him when he passed away, and to this day, that does make me sad. But they say that you can be by their bedside for hours on end, leave to go get a cup of coffee, and that's when they pass. So it is what it is. But my dad was such a character. He was just full of personality, and I think of him so often, even though it has been 18 years since his passing. He was a real jokester, and some of the fond memories I have as a child was he would go on some little road trips and always come home and bring me a little present, whether it be from a gag shop or a magic shop. And I can just remember being so happy with such a little present that he would give to me, and he was a good provider for our family. I also remember him driving home from downtown Winnipeg all the way down West Portage Avenue in no air conditioning, and walking in the door and having a soaking wet back dress shirt, because of course there was never air conditioning back then. And I'd always greet him at the door and say, may I have a choo-choo? And he'd reach into his pocket and grab a Mentos. He always had little mints in his pocket, and that was sort of our thing. I've got wonderful memories of the road trips we took as a family, usually out west. And I had a grandma that lived in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and I can remember walking down the old sidewalk around the corner to the little confectionery store, and I remember the sound that his leather shoes made on the pebbles on the sidewalk. So beautiful memories. As the years went on, I started my own family. My dad was papa to 4 granddaughters and 4 grandsons, and he loved them all equally. However, I was the only daughter that didn't move away from Winnipeg, so he had a very, very special bond with my youngest son, Brett. In 1991, when I delivered Brett, my mom was actually here at Deer Lodge Center recovering from her first stroke. So we needed a little bit of happiness in our life, and Brett was it. My dad and I helped each other out immensely over the upcoming year with my mom's recovery and coming home well enough to carry on with day-to-day activities. But it was hard because, as you know, a stroke changes a person, and it was really difficult for my dad. So what I would do, being in the sandwich generation, is I was raising young kids of my own, but would drop my youngest son, Brett, off to my dad so he could have special time with Brett while I took my mom out and gave my dad a break. So their relationship was really quite special. One thing I forgot to mention earlier was one thing that my dad had always done to us was we used to wash our hair in the kitchen sink, of all things, and occasionally he would rinse our hair with beautiful rainwater, and I can remember thinking, oh, my hair's so soft. And of course that was after the pink sponge rollers were applied. This became a tradition with his grandkids, and when Brett was old enough, we'd get to the front door and Brett would run to the kitchen, pull over the kitchen chair and grab his towel, and his papa would wash his hair in the kitchen sink as well. So I think of the special times that they had together. That Christmas, I didn't know what to give my dad, and I decided just to put Brett in a gift bag. And I presented my dad with Brett. He had a little crepe hat on his head that one of my other kids had made, and it's a picture that I cherish every Christmas season. I also love making the trip over to St. Vital Center and writing a little note the memory tree. I think it's unbelievable how wonderful the volunteers are that sit at the table while grieving people stop by and write their loved ones a little note. I'm glad they have lots of Kleenex there, because the first few years it was pretty challenging. Couldn't really see what I was writing through the tears. But as I said earlier, it does get a little easier with time, and I know that my parents are beside me daily. I feel their spirit, but making a trip over to the memory tree is something that I love to do and will continue to do, and kudos to all the volunteers that give their time. Thank you.